Hi gang, so in this video, I am going to be filming another palette battle. Yes, it's taken me a while, but I am back on it. I'm pitting the Melt Cosmetics MaryJane palette against the Natasha Denona Glam Palette. As you can see, I have not removed the sticker. So there are definitely quite a few overlapping shades or kind of similar shades in these palettes. I did do a swatch of these the other night, and yeah, there are shades that are pretty spot on. There are some kind of more lighter, softer tones in the Glam palette, but there are definitely some shades that are very similar. If you're not familiar with my palette battle series, at least for the first round, I compared eyeshadow palettes which have a similar color story or a similar vibe. I try to do identical eyeshadow looks on each eye using the two different palettes and then kind of pick a winner from there based on the formula, the application, and also viewer voting. So I'm going to show you a side-by-side comparison of the application process. I won't tell you which eye is done with which palette until the end, and based on what you observe, you can let me know what you think. I will also give you some commentary on kind of the formulas. Did I find it easier to work with? Things that you can't really pick up purely based on watching the application on camera itself. Just like all of my other palette battle videos, I'm going to prime my eyes with the Urban Decay Original Primer Potion. I'm also testing out the Kiss Falscara lashes, and that is what I have on my eye right now. Usually I don't have lashes on during the application process, but I decided to test these out and do a video on them. So if you're interested in that review, it should be up by the time this palette battle goes up as well. Oh. So this is the amount of fallout from either side of the eyes. Maybe a little bit more fallout on this side. especially from the lighter shimmer shade on this side. Not as much on this side, I suppose. But anyway, I'm going to clean this up and then I'll come back. Okay gang, so this is the finished look. I really do like the way it turned out. Yeah, so let me zoom you into the eyes just so that you can see. So I've cleaned up everything, but like I mentioned, fallout wasn't drastically different on either side. I did notice more of the shimmer shade from this eye. What do you think? Which eye do you think won based on what you saw? And now I'm going to reveal that this eye was done with the Melt Cosmetics MaryJane palette, and this eye was done with the Natasha Denona Glam Palette. To be perfectly honest, I was a little bit surprised at how these performed. The Natasha Denona side seemed a bit more patchy and harder to work through. Typically, the Natasha Denona shadows that I use don't ever really have any sort of patchy issues. It's more the Melt Cosmetics that typically give me that problem because of how pigmented their shades are, but I really like how deep and rich the Melt Cosmetics matte shades particularly are. I have a theory, I have a suspicion that the reason why it got a bit patchy on this eye was because I wet my brush for the metallics and then it somehow interfered with the matte shade. That's why when I did the bottom lash line, I used a dry brush instead of a wet brush, and that seemed to glide on a lot easier. I didn't see the patchiness that I was seeing on the top. Also, I am testing out these Kiss Falscara lashes, and I believe I cleaned up, you know, all the goopiness and the stickiness from the bond glue on my lid, but maybe there was some residue there that I didn't get rid of, and that might have affected the application. Again, with Melt Cosmetics, some of their shimmer shades, I don't really know how I feel about the formula. This shade right here, Kali, and the star shade, MaryJane, they have a very flaky texture. Sweet Lucy is another one which has that flaky texture. They kind of flake about in the pan when you pick it up with a brush. Using a finger, that happens too. The texture is really very flaky and it's a little bit more messy, and that's what you saw in terms of the fallout. But in terms of the effect, I do prefer the effect of the shimmer shade on this eye than to this one. But they're not the easiest to work with, let's just say. The other shadows, such as B.O., or is it Bo? I don't know. B.O., Bo, Santa Maria, and Bamba. These shades are definitely not that flaky texture. I like the formula of those, I guess, metallic shimmers better. They're a lot more smoother and easier to work with. They're definitely very pigmented. I like them. They're more similar to the Natasha Denona shimmers. In the Natasha Denona Glam Palette, there aren't any kind of flaky shades, to be honest. The flakiest of the bunch would be this shade, Center Eyelid and Inner Corner maybe. But even those are really smooth. This is all very subjective. It might just boil down to the way you like to use your shadows. Let me know what you think. Vote down below which palette you think won, and your vote will be taken into consideration. Your vote gets, the viewer's choice gets 70% of the score, and 30% of the score will be my decision on which palette I think won. My previous palette battle, where I pitted these two palettes against each other. This is the She's in Parties by Melt Cosmetics, and this is the Colored Rain. They're not entirely that similar on first glance, but there are some similar shades in terms of the purples. My vote goes to the Colored Rain Power Palette. I just like the range of shades in this palette much better. Ooh, I'm getting shadow all over my hands. There are two kind of really nice standout light shades, maybe even this one, and then the mid-tone, and then these two deep or three deep ones. Yeah, so I really like the range that this one has. The She's in Parties palette, I don't know. I'm not that sold on, I guess, these light shades. And like I mentioned in the palette battle where I used this palette, Mean Streak, which is supposed to be like the deepest possible shade in here, it's a little bit disappointing. I can't remember exactly what was wrong with it. I mean, oh, it's really dark. Maybe it was difficult to blend and it was a bit patchy. Perhaps if I had mixed it in with Sleepwalk or Lost Control, it might have blended better. It might have, you know, buffed out a little bit better, because I find that shimmer formulas tend to do that just because of the way that they reflect light. Kind of to see if that moves the formula along, moves the pigmentation along, and blends out better. That usually happens if I'm faced with a difficult, patchy, matte, dark shade. So yeah, anyway, that is it for this palette battle. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my next palette battle, and I will announce the winner of, I will announce the winner of today's one in the next video, in the next palette battle. I won't say next week because I know that's not going to happen. So that's it from me, and ciao for now.